JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Hey, I put a video out and I put the wrong starting number. And a great CPA that tunes into my live YouTube, 4 p.m. Central. I think they log in regularly, don't they, Amanda? So anyways, really appreciated. Gave me a heads up that on one of my videos, my starting number was more than what the max could be, which I knew. I had shot the video early in the morning. I was on the TV live show at 6:15 a.m. and I was like, well, what should I do? I need to shoot some videos. And so I had wrote out some examples and of various things. And then when I took the example, I was like, all right. So I wrote everything down. So the math was correct. The concept was correct. There was nothing wrong with anything other than my starting number. So, hey, JJ the CPA, just human. But here's what I'm doing is I'm leaving the other video up from the standpoint of for reasons that have to do with YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So I will say this, there were some videos that I had up related to the employee retention credit. And then when the IRS came out with some clarification related to that, I took down 3 videos, which reduced, views down by, 25,000 views. So if there's a concept that the IRS has come out with, I'm still waiting. I've done some videos. I'm still waiting for the IRS. So on those, that was the reason I took it down. So if you go back to the old video, those that might be irritated that I'm not taking that video down, I've changed the picture to include this math. I put the whole description, okay? I put in the whole description. C note, should have been 100, said 250, concept's correct, math is right. And then in the body, I explain it and I put in, this is what it should have been. And then I do the whole math and then I've given a link to this video. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, if you're just seeing this video only, so here's what I want to be clear on. That video was correct in every way. It was correct on the concept, how it works, how the law works. I just simply started with a number that was too high for the max. And when I had done the 240, I started with that. That was actually going to be related to an example on PPP forgiveness for someone who had employees. So, and what's funny is when I was writing it up originally on the other video, I was like, man, who would make 240 on a Schedule C? But I was like, I've already got the math up there. So anyways, that's JJ the CPA here for you, meaning I don't mind coming in and letting you know that the beginning number was too high, just hadn't thought about it. So thanks to the CPA. I'm not going to take down the other video. You can criticize me for it, that's fine. But again, I'm telling you that if there's something different in the law, I'm taking those down. And then we did get clarification on a number of things, like right as the PPP was coming out when the SBA. So I've probably taken down, 10 videos. And part of the reason I took down the other videos is that as we got more clarification and things were more clear, like, oh, okay, this is actually how they want it. Because you have to remember, my early videos, all we had to go by was the law, and I was out 2 days before everybody else. But then when the determination came into play of the SBA going, well, here's actually how we're going to do it. It's not that there's a misinterpretation in the law, it's that the SBA was able to interpret how it's going to happen. I mean, one example is this. The law states that the 8 weeks begins at the loan origination date. Then the SBA came out and said, no, it's actually going to start when the loan is dispersed. And if you even read in the law regarding ERC, it says, if you're above 100 employees, here's how it works. If you're below 100 employees, here's how it works. Well, what about the employer that actually hasn't even 100? Well, the IRS came out and clarified that, right? So the laws are the laws, and then the IRS comes out and does interpretation. So if you're not super familiar with how that stuff works, and then of course, as interpretation goes into play, well, that's why CPAs and attorneys all have jobs, right? If there was really one way to do it, why the hell would you hire a CPA? And all the answers are on the irs.gov. So anyways, here is the math that should have been in there, but the math was correct, the concept was correct, only the beginning amount that went into the shoot of everything was not. But it's a video that I explain a lot of other things, and that's why I'm not taking the video down. If you're not happy about that, I can't make everybody happy, all right? But I love you anyways. So here's the deal, okay? This is a correction of the previous video. Really making that clear, okay? And everything was correct in that video other than I started with 250. So this would be the max, okay, that you can include for self-employed. So we're talking about self-employed PPP forgiveness. So you take line 31, max is 100,000. You divide it out by 52 weeks, and then 8 weeks is the period of time, the covered period of time. And then basically that is your automatic forgiveness, right? So you don't have to, the SBA was awesome. They came out on the 14th and they said, well, here's how it'll work for self-employed. So there's really no way to show that you did that. It's just, well, there's your max, take 100,000, okay? Now let me be straight. If your line 31 is 30,000, then that's the math you're using, right? I'm not telling you that no matter what you got on your PPP, 15,000 is automatically forgiven. What I'm indicating is if it was 100,000 and 100,000 is the max number. So if your number is 30,000, you would work the math down based on 30,000. So just so you know, for the others that have been a little critical, I can't do every single calculation. There has to be some intelligence used to know that I'm using an example here, right? It's an example. So if your number here is 30,000, then you need to work the math from 30,000, right? Then if you're going with the line 31, what they came out with on the 14th, which we had no idea before that, is that really is truly the max. It's not 100,000 plus the health insurance and the retirement. Whereas if you have an owner of a company that has wages, it's 100,000 plus the health insurance and the retirement. And if you think I'm making it up, then you need to go read what the SBA said, okay? Because you're clearly uneducated if you don't go read what comes out further. Okay, you can't just go base all your determinations based on what Fortune magazine says, even though there's some spectacular authors in there. You do have to do a little more work than reading two simple magazine articles and then going and making your own content and then calling somebody out because you're lazy on what it is that you're going about. So anyways, on this example, that would be your max, okay? And that would be your automatic forgiveness. Now, the one thing to just note is that for this person, when they go, and if we were looking at their app, okay, then their monthly, right, would be 8,333, right? Because if their starting number is 100, okay, and for those that didn't take the time to read what the SBA came out on the 14th may not know that. So spend a little time reading all the facts and things that come out. So 8,333 would be the monthly times 2.5. So 20,833 would be that loan amount, okay? And then basically of that loan amount, okay, in this example, okay, again, this is an example, then of this example, 15,384 in this example, 20,000 was received, and then 15,000. And so the difference in this example is that 5,449 in this example would be what it can be spent on the other things, okay? So in this example, we used 100,000. I'm not gonna take a time to then show you what it would be at 10,000, at 30,000, and 40,000, and 50,000, and $60,344. I'll let you do that. Sorry that I started with the wrong number. And just know this, as a certified public accountant, compared to those that have zero credentials, I have a responsibility to present what I think is correct, what my opinion is, and I'm not providing these videos other than for my clients, period. So at the end of the day, there you go. And there'll be a picture up on the original one of this in the thumb. There's a note on it. So if somebody's just going to blindly read it and go through that, and then here's the thing, okay? It's an example, okay? It's an example. It's an example. It's an example, okay? So if somebody has an example and the concept is correct, the math is correct, everything's correct, okay? The beginning number, yeah. So this stuff's pretty complicated. I mean, it was put into law on the 27th. The IRS is doing the best they can, as well as the SBA. We still have a lot more to come out. And that's why actually, if you'll look carefully, if you're watching my YouTube videos, I started a couple of weeks ago that I put in the body of the YouTube description, this is as of this date, because I can't really recall what I said in emails in the past to know, okay, if that changed or if that changed. Now, if there's a major change, I'm going to take the video down. And then there's a couple of videos where in the body I clarify, say, hey, in this I indicated this, but then the SBA later came out and said this. So I'll just tell you this, if you're using my YouTube channels, you need to look at what's in the body. I usually also reference to go to other things. These are complicated matters. I'm trying to provide some information. The receiver of it is obviously, needs to check with their own tax professionals. All I'm doing is providing some information. I think I've helped a lot of good people out there. Anyway, so if you have any questions, I put my email out there. All right, well, hey, listen, don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.